You've taken one step too close to me.
Group 3 copies. Group 3 copies. Attack run.
We've lost Charon. Fleet command is gone. Emergency biotech teams are working to keep her alive. The collision asteroid must have served its purpose as a delay tactic. There's a large number of Titan ships located here. A mothership-class vessel is among them.
The dead have risen, and by dead I mean this LP and my former computer. Welcome finally to the final episode of Homeworld Remastered, everyone. And as you can see, we're starting off with a little bit of a Barney going on at the front of the ship here. So I'm obviously going to go into quite a lot of detail about what's been happening over the last, I don't know how many months. The only thing I can do at this point is really apologise for the fact it's taken so long for this to happen, but once I get into it during the latter half of this LP, I'm sure you'll understand. Oh, hell.
Group 1 reporting. Repair order confirmed.
Okay,
Stay sharp.
I guess we'll try and deal with that.
Reporting friendly units.
Now, of course, the issue here is, it's not that I can't take this force on. I absolutely can. I have no issues whatsoever with being able to destroy this force. My current force that I have available is gigantic and will easily destroy this. However, the problem that I have is that none of these ships are actually interested in fighting my ships. They're just going straight for the mothership. And I don't have enough of a wall here, I don't think, but yeah, they're all going in. So, and wow, you'll actually notice that my mothership, I think, has just died. Yeah. Welcome to the disadvantage of playing Homeworld Remastered, everybody. You try to have a little bit of fun with the game, and they decide that the only acceptable course of action is to be the fun police, and therefore you are not allowed to, therefore they just send an enormous death fleet out to destroy you. So, let's go to attempt number 2. And I am a little bit disappointed with myself, actually, because going into this, I'm looking at it thinking, oh, there was really nothing I could do about this. In actuality, there absolutely is. I could have potentially moved things a little bit further forward. You'll notice I'm going straight for the ion cannon frigates here because I have no... I have literally no desire to take on the other 5 ships, because if I can take out the ion cannon frigates, then I will be absolutely fine in terms of holding my stuff off. Moving everything forward, just trying to provide a distraction, but you'll notice there is nothing that does provide a distraction. These ships just go straight, and you can see how fast the mothership's burning here. And again, yeah, the fun police are in full effect, and you can see I'm actually decimating this fleet. You know, this fleet doesn't stand a chance against what I'm bringing, but it doesn't really matter because they have, using StarCraft terminology, they have just one aid, and there is literally, there's very, very little I can do. You can see they're only down to about 6 or 7 ships now. So, this was about the best attempt I had. I had a few more attempts, and it didn't quite come off, so I did what... I took the coward's way out, I'm going to say here, and I reset the game to its... I reset the game to its default difficulty level, which...
Collision asteroid must have served its purpose as a delay tactic. There's a large number of Titan ships located here. A mothership-class vessel is among them.
So what you're going to see in this video is basically the final mission as it more or less should have been. I think that what I may do, and I'll explain this in a little bit, what I may do in the future is I will come back and try this mission again. However, that may be sometime in the future due to the fact that, well, my old computer is pretty much no more at this point, and that was the computer that this LP was recorded on.
Group 4
And to give you some idea, that computer was, near as makes no difference, 8 years old, I believe. It's the same computer that I did my Elite Force LPs on and everything else. It lasted for quite a decent period of time, but really in this day and age, an FX 8350 doesn't really cut the mustard. So, towards the turn of last year, especially with the Windows 10 update and everything else coming in, I decided that it was time to actually get a new PC, and I ended up with a Ryzen 5. And when they asked how much RAM I wanted in it, I said yes, and therefore I at least have the ability to produce videos and etc. now. Now, I'm not tremendously sure how far I want to push that, but the idea was always to at least finish off this LP so you can see everything going on. And as you can see, with this mission in its default mode, the mothership's still taking a beating here. I've probably been a little bit, blasé about this, but I'm going to end up stealing a heavy cruiser, and I think I try and steal a destroyer, but I think I'm just very, very slow at it. And yeah, I made a big mistake. I grabbed all of Group 10 and I released the heavy cruiser, so I decided to just take the heavy cruiser and cut my losses at that point. The other side of that particular equation is that in reality I didn't want to leave this unfinished, but obviously I had to get all the recording from the old computer, so yeah, not easy. But the advantage is that this PC should be capable of doing 60 FPS recordings, or 1080p 60 FPS I think. 1440 maybe a little beyond it, but 1080p 60 should be fine. And especially the fact that I tend to focus a little bit more on older games, then should I choose to do an LP, it should be a lot less painful than it was in the past. I'm honestly not sure where I intend to take the channel at this point, but one way or the other, this was something that I was definitely committed to doing. So, the big question, I suppose, would be, what's happened over the last 6 months? Well, I suppose the fact that I'm locked in the house currently, thanks to the COVID-19 issues that we're currently having as a planet, I suppose, rather than a nation. I'll probably have a little bit more time to bum around. I have, in fact, already downloaded all 5 XCOM games and all the others. Is it 5? I've forgotten how many there are, but I'm definitely looking for ways to keep myself active as I'm stuck inside, except for the hour a day where I go and take my walk. And of course, on Star Trek fronts, I know that many of you subscribe to the channel or have subscribed to the channel for Star Trek gaming, etc. Of course, there's been this little thing called Star Trek Picard recently. And strangely enough, I do have opinions on it, and I obviously have some criticisms. I have some things that I liked about it. I don't seem to have the absolutely raging hate boner that a lot of people seem to have for it, but there are certain things that I am definitely not convinced were amazing about it, but I certainly wasn't overwhelmingly offended by it, shall we put it that way. So you'll notice that there was a carrier there that was sitting all by itself, so even though this is the last level of the game, I am still in the mood for stealing stuff. Now, I was contemplating sending a raiding party of attack bombers here, but we just heard about enemy reinforcements emerging from hyperspace, and you will actually see they... Where are these reinforcements? Ah, there they are. There they are. So here they come, and obviously I'm doing quite a bit of cutting here just because at the end of the day my fleet is extremely slow, and I don't think you want to just sit here for 5 minutes or so just waiting for them to get to each other. And also, one of the advantages of waiting is that the enemy ships are all in different speeds. So you'll see there's a heavy cruiser there at the back and the 2 destroyers behind that, and it's sort of split the fleet up. So it means that I can get into it and take out the enemy fleet one bit at a time, rather than the standard process, which would have been to, which would have very much been to just.
I almost feel bad about this.
Looks like we got the upper hand.
I love how the pilot says, I almost feel bad about this. It's like, you do realise what they did to Higaara, right? I mean, I know it was a long time ago. I know I haven't... You know, I know that everyone might have forgotten that they burnt your planet to a cinder, but I'm pretty sure that you shouldn't be feeling bad about this. And yes, 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 we're going to steal that. Oh, I've let the carrier go. That is such a terrible idea. I hate the controls for this game. I hate the controls for this game compared to Homeworld 1.
Acknowledged.
And, oh, this is such a mess. Give me that carrier. There we go. Right, so that should be less of a... That was an explosion.
Strike group under enemy attack.
Yeah, they're not lasting very long under that sort of that sort of fleet. And we are at the point where I'm just going to vaporize anything that gets involved with me in a fleet engagement. But oh, son. And the game, I suppose, can get a little bit that way, but overall, I think that I don't know whether there's a coding error or not in this version of the game, because there is an event that's supposed to trigger in this mission, and it doesn't trigger. So I will go ahead and spoil what should happen, because it actually doesn't happen in this walkthrough. If you remember Captain Elson back from the Junkyard Dog mission, he is supposed to jump in and basically make a beeline for the enemy mothership. It's just a little cutscene that happens, but I think it only happens if you either get down to a low number of ships or the mothership's health gets battered down by a certain fleet. But for some reason,
Group 1 copies. Docking with
that just doesn't seem to have happened in this mission, and I did wait a long time for it to happen. As you can see, I've stolen the carrier, I've stolen another heavy cruiser there. So we're going up now. I think I'm at 6 heavy cruisers, so it's pretty... yeah. This is fairly severe what's coming here. Another massive fleet coming my way. And again, I'm going to let this come to me. I'm not going to let it get anywhere near the mothership, but I am going to see how things go. What I probably should have is some sensor platforms or something along this line, just to give me a little bit more vision. But I seem to remember when I played this on the original Homeworld, and we're talking many, many, many years ago now. When I played this on the original Homeworld, I remember basically the enemy fleet warping in literally on top of the mothership. But once that happened, and that might have been the first assault that happened in this mission, once that happened, the mission became quite simple at that point. There really wasn't too much complexity to it. I just think that once you get over that certain hump in this mission, they don't send stuff in enough numbers to be able to take you down. It would be interesting if I still had the save file. It would be very interesting to play around a little bit with the numbers inflation, as it were. So the fact that the game makes itself harder based on your fleet, I think it's actually a decent idea. You know, but I think that in some cases it got ramped up a little bit too high. Now, there are people who are much better than me at Homeworld who have apparently even won the game with it on excess amounts of, excess amounts of difficulty scaling, which I've got to say, I'll just take my hat off to those people because they're way better than me at Homeworld.
Group 1 standing by.
Now, one thing that is in the works, as far as I can recall, is Homeworld 3 is apparently in the works. I think it's been kick-started. The last thing I heard of that was 6 months ago, so I'm honestly not sure. But if I do see sort of ideas that it's going to come out, then what I will probably do is play through Homeworld 2 and Homeworld. Now, I call it Homeworld Cataclysm because that is what it was called when it first came out, which is the expansion to the first game. I believe it's now called Homeworld Emergence if you want to get it from anywhere else. I think you can get it from goodoldgames.com. And yeah, it's now called Homeworld Emergence rather than Homeworld Cataclysm. And in fact, out of all the games, I would say the one I probably enjoyed the most story-wise would probably be Emergence or Cataclysm. I just think that instead of this Homeworld 1, which, don't get me wrong, epic story, brilliant story, and has the mission where you'll pretty much never forget it once you've played it, just because of the feels that you get from it. But the overall feeling of horror that you get from the
Group 10 copies.
Emergence storyline, that can be genuinely unnerving.
Strike group.
Anyway, now we've dealt with those major assaults, I guess it's time to go on the offensive. And I did wait for an awfully long period of time here, because it was my aim to try and trigger that cutscene, and when it kept not happening, I was thinking, have I done something wrong? I honestly don't know. Should something have happened? And it turns out that I wasn't able to trigger the cutscene, so I thought, oh well, I might as well just simply end the game.
Strike group attack order confirmed.
So I'm going to invoke the He Needed Killing directive and go and take on the Emperor. So, just for anyone who was wondering at the start, and the fact that you can't hear anything from Karan, who you might have been wondering, why aren't we getting attack warnings or anything like that? Because Karan is currently out of commission due to that psychic attack at the start of the level. You don't get warnings for when your ships are under attack or anything like that, because basically she is fleet command and she's down at this point. There is no fleet command, as it were. So
Awaiting assignment.
Right now we're coming up to what's going to be the final fight. I've got basically a wall of a fleet, which is basically just made up of heavy cruisers, ion cannon frigates, massive wall of assault frigates, all of that. Just moving my salvage corvettes off to the side because I want to get a flank in if I can. Oh, my ships have found something. And something to be shooting at. I'm not sure what that is. I think it might be a resource collector. Well, given by the fact it's already dead, I'm going to guess that it definitely was a resource collector. And you can see we've got a couple of heavy cruisers here.
Pick your targets. Friendlies under fire.
I think that what I'm about to try and do is rather ambitious. There's 3 heavy cruisers here, and I'm going to try and take 2 of them.
Light fire confirmed.
Given how hard heavy cruisers hit, I think that this is very, very ambitious. It looks like it's working, but I think my back one is in range of the other heavy cruiser. Oh well, let's get... and yeah, you can see how the AI is priority targeting my salvage corvettes. So I've lost 2 of them already, so... What I need to do here is try and burn down this 3rd heavy cruiser, which is happening exceedingly quickly.
We're losing control.
But you can see I'm losing salvage corvettes, so I can't quite pull away with that. I can't pull away with the second heavy cruiser at this point. But yeah, that's pretty much everything there. The support frigates went, the heavy cruiser went. So you can currently see how the heavy cruiser is actually firing at some of my ships because I've not got it fully. I've got it immobilized with my salvage corvettes, but it's still throwing out fire everywhere. Seriously, heavy cruisers are very, very serious business in this game. Like, super serious business. And while I would love to add 2 more heavy cruisers to my collection, as the first one goes off screen there, I decide that really at this point I have reached the point where enough is actually enough. And you know what? I think we're just going to, yeah. I'm pulling my salvage corvettes off. I'm going to finish off this heavy cruiser, and then I'm going to finish off the main fleet. Well, I'm going to finish off the tie-down mothership. Now, admittedly, I made that look fairly simple, but 3 heavy, as I said, 3 heavy cruisers is not something to be messed with in this game. And if I hadn't have stolen so much early in this game, then they could have ripped me a new one. Wow, see how much damage those missiles do from the missile destroyer. They do some very serious damage. They're ripping my salvage corvettes to pieces. And again, I think I only managed to get 2. Yeah, I've got 3 salvage corvettes on it, and I think I need 4 to capture it. And the issue from that is, of course, it's now immobilized, but it's still capable of firing. And you saw how much it chewed up my salvage corvette. So you know what? No, you know what? I'm actually done. We kill the missile corvette, and time to get some revenge for Karak, I believe. Not the most inspired design that the Emperor's chosen here, but you know what? Feel the wrath of 76 ion cannon frigate, something around that, 7 heavy cruisers. Fleet of Doom is coming. Doom has come to your world, tie-down Emperor.
Strike group reports hostile contact.
Old saying, if you shoot at a king, you better not miss. And unfortunately, Emperor, you missed on this occasion. Well, that's a pathetic attempt at revenge, throwing out all those fights at the end. But if that's all you've got, that's all you've got, I suppose. See you later.
Attention fleet. Friendlies under fire. Request orders.
Fleet command back online. The Emperor is gone.
We have brought the council. This war is over.
The Galactic Council recognized our claim to this world. The sacrifice of thousands has left a trail of destruction behind us, like a path across the galaxy to Higaara, our homeworld. So much destruction, so many lives lost for this place. a place of wonder to those who knew only the sands of Karak. Our colonists were released from their long sleep. All symbols of the old empire were destroyed. But the conflict will never be forgotten. A celebration marked the beginning of a new time. No longer Fleet Command, Karen Sajet survived extraction from the mothership's core. She insisted that she would be the last person to disembark and set foot on the home world.
And there we go. That is the end of Homeworld Remastered. And definitely a classic game, the original Homeworld for sure. What did I think of the remastery of it? Looks great. I think it really does look great. Maybe a couple of improvements in some areas. It doesn't quite, for me, capture the feel of the original, but then again, that's maybe because it's always dangerous when you remaster a game, because to those who, like me, played the original game, if you try and change anything within the game, then there's always going to be those who take it poorly or they don't think that it's an improvement. I think that the sliding difficulty scale, while you can come at it from two different angles. Number one, I think it does get to the point where it makes the game extremely difficult to win. However, I feel like because you have the ability in the remastered version to actually scale it back when it becomes a real pain, then I feel like because there's that degree of control, I can put up with it. And I think that you can almost use it as a difficulty slider, and I'm sure there are people out there who will turn it up to like 3 or something like that, and 3.0 from the normal difficulty slider, and that would be absolutely insane, but some people would still look at that. I mean, I think that many gamers out there have issues with things like fetch quests, protect things and everything like that, and when you're simply just pouring more stuff into the level than you can realistically defend against, then that is something that isn't too much fun. However, I will say that overall I did find the game enjoyable. I found that some of the controls weren't as easy as the original game. At least I felt they weren't as easy as the original game. They changed a couple of things which I wasn't too enamoured with. I honestly don't know how much of that could have been my hardware though, because I felt like I was having trouble clicking on things and all the rest of it. However, recently I discovered that my old Razer was it a Death Adder, the mouse I had? I think no, it wasn't a Death Adder, it was a different one, but whatever it was, my new one's a Death Adder, but the mouse I was using was having double clicking issues. It was sort of double clicking when I was single clicking, etc. So I lost quite a bit of control from doing that. So how much of that was down to either failing hardware or just me being a klutz, it could have been. So I don't want to be particularly unfair on the remake, but I did some research basically saying that yes, and you know, it did come out saying yes, there are some sort of control issues. It doesn't quite respond how you'd like. Some improvements, some things were better, some things were worse, but overall very enjoyable. It certainly evoked the memories of Homeworld, and overall, yeah, I would say if you've never played Homeworld or you've never examine the series, do yourself a favour. You can probably get it pretty cheap these days. Find it on a sale. It's one of the truly great strategy games, and even with its faults, the remastered version is definitely worth a look-see. So the idea comes now, where am I going to go with everything? I will be honest and say that my time right now is probably at its peak, my sort of available time, due to the fact that obviously I'm currently stuck inside. So looking for a project and just maybe doing this sort of thing for fun might be a good thing. It will certainly be less of a burden now that I have a computer that doesn't fight me every step of the way to try and stop me from rendering a video or something along those lines. So I can certainly see myself making some more videos. I can see myself doing things like opinion pieces, which may not take as long to come out as a full Let's Play video might be. I can also see doing maybe an open-ended style Let's Play, so things like, there are games out there where they go as long as they go. They're not necessarily on a linear story path. Things like either XCOM or things like, for example, Magic the Gathering Arena. You know, just playing a bit of that. But I may also look back and see what Star Trek games I have available. Although I am now on Windows 10, so there could be difficulties in getting some of the games working. However, I do have some of the old games that are still available. They work from good old games, and because of Windows 10, Shadowplay seems to play a lot nicer on Windows 10 as well, so recording might not actually be difficult either. So, you know, you might actually see a lot more from me in the future. I don't want to promise anything, because the future's always in motion, and when I am back at work full time, I mean, I am still at work full time, but I'm working from home. But when I'm back at work full time, I can certainly see my time dwindling, and juggling my time normally is extremely difficult. So I will certainly do what I can when I can, but I think that there may be gaps, and if I'm going to record things, I may record them in advance so I can release them on a schedule, and therefore there's no sort of 6-month gap when I suddenly decide there might be something else I have to be getting on with. Still, this has very much got a monkey off my back, and thank you very much indeed for watching, any of you who have decided to stick with me, and I hope to see many of you again soon, so take care.